Welcome back to Illinois Law, brought to you by the Illinois State Bar Association. We're talking about RTI, the response to intervention, and we've pretty well discussed what happens in the RTI model. And we're going to talk a little bit now about what happens when, for some reason, you feel that RTI isn't enough, that you've discovered something while you're doing these interventions that leads you to believe that a child needs additional help, which may or may not be special education. So this brings us to what is called Child Find. And what do we do there?
Well, I'll start out by just suggesting that Child Find is an obligation that every school district must comply with. They have a responsibility to identify any child suspected of being in need of special education and related services, and then making a recommendation after that suspicion is kind of found out as to whether or not the child is in fact eligible for special education services. And so if a student isn't being successful in responding positively to interventions, then there may be a recommendation that the student be considered for an evaluation to determine if they are eligible for special education. And that process is called Child Find, finding those children who may be in need of special education services.
And assuming that the school district maybe doesn't identify this, does the parent have the right also to ask for this?
Yes, the parent can at any point during RTI make a recommendation to the district that the child be evaluated as to whether the child has a need for special education services.
And if the parent asks for this, does the school district have to comply, or may they refuse?
The school district has to consider the request. The school district does not necessarily have to provide for an evaluation at that time. Sometimes what happens is that there hasn't been enough time to evaluate the data under RTI, in which case the school district may refuse to do the evaluation at that time, but state that they will do it at a later time.
And then wait to see whether the RTI interventions are working.
That's right.
And assuming then that one way or the other that the interventions don't work and you're going on to have the child evaluated, what would be the basic first step in evaluation? Where would we go, John?
Well, the first thing is that we're going to assess the student. We're going to give that student some assessments to determine where they are currently. You know, at what are their specific needs. And so there are a number of people in the school that are trained to provide those types of assessments. So once we've collected that data, then we're going to move to the next level, is to really evaluate, are they eligible for special ed services based upon those assessments.
And would the RTI data then that you'd been collecting along the way, would that be useful in this determination?
Absolutely, it's very useful, and the parent may be called to participate in what is described as a domain meeting, or a meeting with the school professionals to determine what kinds of evaluations might be appropriate to consider. And the parents would be informed of the kind of testing that might be completed, and there would be a specific request for the parent to provide written consent to the completion of the evaluation before it actually would be given to the child.
Can an evaluation be given to a parent, to a child, if the parent does not consent?
Not for special education services. If there is an individualized set of tests that are recommended to be completed as a case study evaluation for a student who is suspected of maybe being eligible for special ed services, written consent from the parent is required before the district can proceed to do the evaluation.
How about RTI? Is that something that the district can just begin?
Yes, RTI is something the district can just begin because it's very different than special education services. So no parental consent is required. But the district does want, and the schools want, parents to be involved in that process so that they can better help the schools understand what the parent or what the child's needs are, as well as address any issues that may come up during RTI.
And suppose a school district, John, is going to start using RTI interventions. In other words, not the 80%, but we're going to move the kid up. Should the parent at that point go to the school, ask any particular questions? What would the parent ask at
Yes,
that point?
absolutely. And hopefully we've been in contact, I say we, the administration and the school people have been in contact with the parent every step along the way here, and so that they're very aware of what we're doing, the time frame, the types of assessments, what we're hoping to accomplish, and the progress the student has been making. And so especially as we become even more intensive about our interventions, that relationship with the parent becomes even more important.
And what kinds of information then would be exchanged? I mean, data, what we're doing, what would they be exchanging?
Well, we'd be talking about the types of assessments. First of all, what the issue is. We may say, that we have learned that your child has difficulty with decoding, and so we want to put in some interventions here to assist her so she can get back with her peer group. And this is the length of time that we plan to do this. These are the types of activities that we're going to engage in, and if hopefully, and we will explain that, hopefully it's going to work and she'll be right back with her regular peer group. But if it doesn't work, then we'll get back together and talk about what might the next steps be.
And how often will this happen? Is it on a regular basis, an annual basis, or is it just as needed?
Well, I think there's no set specified time period for how often a school may contact a parent to discuss progress with respect to how their child might be responding to the interventions being used. It would, in my opinion, likely be flexible based upon the particular needs of the child and how the parent-school relationship has been established with respect to the needs of that child.
This has been a very, very good discussion of RTI, which is something that I think many parents are confused about because it's new. The terminology is new, and I think it goes back to what John said in the beginning. The terminology may be new, but as a best practice, it is not new. It's something that should have been implemented in school districts all along. It's just that we formalized it now according to the new law.
That's right.
That's excellent. Final word?
Just think it's a great opportunity, really, for schools in general. The fact that now this is mandatory, it's forcing schools and perhaps some that may have been a little reluctant to implement some of the best practices. So I think it's a great thing for teachers and for
parents.
And for parents, and I think it's an opportunity for us to work together for the best, in the best interest of the
And
child.
I'm going to thank my panelists. It's just been an excellent discussion. Mary Kay Klimisch, John Dively, and Deb Decker, thank you so much for coming tonight to talk about this. Thank you for watching. And we hope that you'll watch the next show, which is going to talk a little bit more about the special education issues if the child is identified. Thank you for watching Illinois Law, brought to you by the Illinois State Bar Association. My name is Nancy Habelsel, and I've enjoyed being your moderator this evening.